Welcome to Jerseys and Heels,
Bringing women into the game.
one of the best sports podcasts in the world. Incredible news, Sports 101, and we are bringing you behind the scenes at real life beyond the jersey. Are you ready, Sam?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we are back for our second podcast. Welcome to
Jerseys and Heels. I'm Sam.
I'm Haley, and we have a really amazing special guest here with us. Do you want to introduce him?
Mr. Chuck Mercein.
Hi, nice to be here, girls.
Did I say your last name correctly?
Mercein is correct.
Mercein.
Okay.
And so if you guys don't know, we usually choose a tropical place because, you know, we pretend we're on vacation all the time, but you are on vacation.
I am. I'm enjoying being here in this beautiful home and playing golf with friends and going out to dinner with friends.
Awesome. Okay. So Mr. Chuck here, we're in Vero Beach.
Yes.
And we're on the Intercoastal. And you look very lovely today in your bright green.
Thank you. I'm wearing green for a little bit of a special reason. I think someone over there played for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Welcome.
I sure did.
So we want to know, first of all, why are you down in Florida? And where are you? Do you live here or what's the deal?
No, but I'm very familiar with Vero. I had a home here 30 years or so ago, and so I've been coming to Vero for 30 years, off and on, and have many friends here who I play golf with. I live in New York, and don't reside here, but I vacation here every year.
Okay. And so before we obviously dive into the football thing, you play golf.
I do. Of
How's your
course.
game?
Not that good. No, I think I'm a
Are
better
you
football
saying-
player than a golfer. But I enjoy the company. I enjoy the camaraderie, and being outside, of course, is fun in nature. So I'm not a fanatic about golf and my score, my handicap.
You just do it for fun.
Yeah. Yesterday on the 18th hole at John's Island West, I was putting for a birdie, so I made a par. So that's all I remember about the whole round. I don't remember anything about the double bogeys or lost balls. I just remember I was putting for birdie on the 18th hole.
Hey, positive thoughts, right? So you told me about Mr. Chuck. You introduced us, and you said what was special about him. What was so cool?
Well, I said he was part of the Ice Bowl.
And I was like, the Ice Bowl.
What's that?
Yeah, what's that? What's the Ice Bowl? Miss Jerseys and Heels did not even know. So can you tell us what the Ice Bowl is, and then we can just dive right in.
I can try and tell you what it is. I know that it was
67.
1967.
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers, and they were against the Dallas Cowboys.
That's
who
right.
I know you all know that I loathe. So congratulations on that one.
Good. Just to tell you a little bit about the Ice Bowl, it's famous because of the cold weather that day.
Yeah.
And it's also famous because it was the third NFL championship in a row that the Green Bay Packers won, which Vince Lombardi, Coach Lombardi, was harping on us all year to try to accomplish. And no team before that had ever won 3 NFL championships, and no team since then has won 3 NFL championships.
Wow.
So that's why I wear the Super Bowl ring proudly, which has 3 diamonds for 3 NFL champions.
Wow.
In
That
a row.
Patriots.
And it also signifies the second Super Bowl, but the accomplishment of the 3 NFL championships is far greater than the fact that we won 2 Super Bowls in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, that
So it was
shows you.
basically one of the original Super Bowls.
It was the next game was the second Super Bowl.
Okay.
But the most prominent part of the game was that it was the NFL championship game. At the time, the Super Bowls were almost like an exhibition game.
Okay.
The AFL and the NFL were competing leagues. They were going to merge in 1970, and they started playing these games to kind of get people used to seeing the AFL and the NFL play. So the NFL, meaning the Green Bay Packers, won the first 2 games handily, easily, and they didn't even fill them up. The stadiums weren't filled up. So the most important game of the year in the NFL was the NFL championship. It was kind of like the NFL today playing the AAFL or the USFL or the XFL.
Wow. Okay.
But it did, all of a sudden it clicked because the next year was the 3rd Super Bowl, and that was the year Joe Namath and the New York Jets beat the heavily favored Baltimore Colts in the 3rd NFL Super Bowl. But getting back to the Ice Bowl, what made it so memorable and what makes it, the NFL films, people tell me, what has made it the most watched show, the most famous show actually, whether it's a football game in history, is that the conditions were so terrible. The day before the game, it was a nice day in Green Bay, meaning it was like 20, 25, 30 degrees, and, very playable. But a polar vortex came in that night, and so the next morning when everyone awoke, we were greeted with it's 16 below zero today and going to get colder. And my clock radio went off at home, and I heard that, and I couldn't even believe it. I actually called the radio station and said, I think I misheard that. What
You
was
actually
it?
called?
I did. I actually did. I couldn't believe it. And the guy there it's very provincial. The guy says, yeah, no, it's going to be really cold today. It's 16 below, and that's without a chill factor. Actually, during the game, the chill factor got to be 57 below, I think, or 59 below. So the playing conditions were so difficult that when we got to the stadium, after I went to Mass, which I usually did, this time I had an extra prayer of those. Don't let me freeze to death, But if it was bad for the Green Bay Packers, it was much worse for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, 'cause the
They
Packers are
played
used
in
to the
Dallas, right?
Yeah.
And
So you went to church. You were like,
yeah.
Lord, help me.
Exactly.
not
Went to
die
church.
today.
Lord, help me, as I always prayed. Don't let me hurt anybody, and don't let me get hurt, and let me play the best of my ability. And
Let me not die from
and let me not
hypothermia.
die from hypothermia. But so when we got to the stadium, we actually had some conversations ongoing, which I heard about between Coach Lombardi, Coach Landry, and the commissioner of the NFL about whether or not they'd actually play the game, because people thought it might have been dangerous to the players, and possibly to the people in the stands.
Absolutely.
But as it turned out, we decided to go ahead and play. But there was actually, thinking guys were saying, we'll never play this game. Especially warm weather guys we had from Alabama or from USC. They were saying, we can't play this game. And coach says, we're playing, so get ready. So we went out for warm-ups, which was a euphemism because nobody warmed up. And it was so cold that the coach had a electric blanket put on underneath the field just in case something like this would happen. It was supposed to make the field playable. But unfortunately, there was also a tarpaulin over that blanket.
Yeah, we heard.
Yeah, so when they pulled the tarp off, the field just froze. You could actually see it turning from water condensation to ice.
Wow.
So it became playing almost like on an ice field, except with chunks of dirt stuck in it. Like I think of a stucco wall. If you put a stucco wall down and you try to play football on it, that would be what it was like, because all the chunks of dirt froze to the ground, and the ground itself was frozen. So every time you landed on it, you scraped yourself. You got little abrasions. But it was so cold, for example, that the first play of the game, the referee went to blow his whistle to call the play is over. It stuck to his lip. He pulls it off. He started to bleed, and the blood froze. So
That's
from that
insane.
moment on, in the ice bowl, a lot of people don't know this, we never had another whistle blown.
They just used their voices.
The referees just said stop, and we all did. Everybody obeyed. Everybody stopped. You never could have told. But another whistle they were metal whistles at the time, not plastic. So that gives you an idea of how cold it was for us.
We heard the lacrosse band or something from the University of Wisconsin was going to actually play for halftime.
They couldn't.
They couldn't.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't get the wind instruments up to their mouths unless they wanted to stick there. It'd be like putting your tongue against something frozen.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And the woodwind instruments, I guess, wouldn't even play because they were frozen.
And one person did die in the stands.
I heard.
Yeah, and it was dangerous conditions, and very, very hard to play. So the first half, the Green Bay Packers did play pretty well on offense, and we were leading the game 14-10, I think it was. After that, no offense happened really. We just a defensive battle until the very last drive, which was the last drive in the Ice Bowl. It was a very famous, most famous drive probably in history of the NFL because of the conditions and the fact that we started 68 yards away from pay dirt, and we had done nothing. So that was it when God signed on me and let me have my moment. Excuse me. And I ended up having 34 of the last 68 yards in the drive on various runs and catches and stuff like that.
Wow. So then you guys get down to the in the red zone, and Bart Starr is your quarterback.
That's right.
Who went to Alabama.
That's right, he did.
Can you say Roll Tide?
Yeah, Roll Tide.
Only for Bart, though. I know you
Bart, only for Bart, right?
Yeah.
But,
you actually had a few Bama guys on your team.
We did. We had another fellow named Steve Wright, who also played for Bear Bryant and Vince Lombardi.
Awesome.
his reaction to having done that was a little different than Bart Starr's. Bart was much more calm than Steve. Steve was so hyper after that. The experience of playing for those two tough guys was a lot for him. But and there were some other players as well. But
so if you're listening and you don't know this, because we do have some listeners that may be listening and not. So the Lombardi Trophy, the Super Bowl trophy, is named the Lombardi Trophy.
Yes.
And it is named after Vince Lombardi, who was Chuck's coach.
Yes, the most famous coach in NFL history.
What was his temperament like?
Well, it was tough. He was a taskmaster. He was a perfectionist, and
like Nick Saban.
Yeah, exactly. And a big believer in discipline, character. His first words to his team every year were, there are three things in your life that I want to be most important: God, family, and the Green Bay Packers.
I like that one.
Yeah, you like that one, right, Sam?
She's going to be telling her kids the same, except Philadelphia Eagles, God, family, Philadelphia Eagles. Do you hear me?
But you notice the Green Bay Packers were third there.
I love it.
And he was a very religious guy. He was a daily mass goer. And, at one point, actually, he thought he might become a priest. He went to Fordham University, which is a Catholic university. And character meant everything to him. And if you were on that team, you did have character. You weren't playing for the Green Bay Packers or Vince Lombardi if there were a character problem. So, wow. He was also a social progressive in the 60s, which was unusual. But as an Italian American, he faced a lot of discrimination. He wasn't able to become a head coach until he was like 55 years old, and he was a great coach.
Wow.
So, we were integrated as a team, which a lot of teams weren't at the time, and he treated all of our players equally, and we all got along. We were brothers, and it was all because of him. But he was a no nonsense person. You didn't want to make a mistake mentally. He demanded 110% from his players, and you gave it to him. The last thing in the world you would want to do would be loaf or not try hard enough or make a mental error.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have 4 children.
Amazing. So my dad did this playing for Bear Bryant, who was also very similar to that.
Exactly.
Did you take what you learned from Coach Lombardi and did you instill that into your children? Do you feel like they...
I hope so, yeah. I have 4 beautiful children, and they're all very successful. I have a son, Tommy, my eldest, and 3 daughters. And Tommy's vice chairman of a major firm in Wall Street, Credit Suisse, and he's done great in his career. And my daughter, KK, is a mother of 5 and also a lawyer, a practicing attorney. And those 2 went to Yale, and she went to NYU Law. And another one, Susie, is a very accomplished teacher and a mother of 4, and Jenny's also a teacher,
Wow.
professor. They have their master's degrees. One went to Stanford for graduate school. So all of them are very well educated and have beautiful families. I have 14 grandchildren. So I hope that the lessons I learned helped me to instill some of that in them.
So what do your grandkids call you?
Papa.
Papa.
Yeah, that's the Italian for grandfather, and I'm Italian on my mom's side. So
I love
that was
it.
it.
I
Yeah,
love it.
Papa. Yeah.
Do they know the significance of your
Oh my God, they're so tired of it, you can't believe it. They call the Ice Bowl the game that will never die. It is the most played game in NFL films history. So
Right.
they've seen this thing enough times, and I've been on enough things, specials about it and stuff.
Do you ever watch it if you see it on?
There's a special called America's Game that is really kind of fun that they did about that particular year, and I'm on it with Jerry Kramer and Bart Starr as the 3 focused people, and we see that every so often. They'll pull it out and watch it because there's a lot of interviews in it and stuff. It's fun.
Does it make you laugh when you watch yourself playing that, or
not
do you feel
really.
as
I
old
don't.
as you did?
PTSD.
Not really.
He has
If
PTSD.
anything, I get kind of psyched up again because it
Yeah.
was such a moment for me. I had a 6-year career as a running back in the NFL. I started with the Giants. I was their leading rusher in 1 year, but didn't go along with a coach. So my career was like a sine curve. It was sort of up and down, like life is. I had points where I had to get back up and was knocked down, but I persevered. And my reward came with the Green Bay Packers and playing in the Ice Bowl and having that, prominent part of the last drive was,
Right.
a reward for me. And so I'm fortunate to have played. I feel grateful. I would have played for nothing. Money wasn't that great anyway. I loved the game, so I got to extend the the love of the game of football for another 6 years. It was wonderful.
I have to ask because obviously nowadays they have anything for everything. You can, if you're cold on the field, they have their
Right.
sleeves. They have heaters for their helmets, for their hands, everything. I'm assuming that was not an
Nothing. We
option.
technologically we were very backward.
Did
We
you
had
even have like a bike on the field? When
no bike on the field. Matter of fact, it was very windy, as I say. So they tried to construct a kind of a structure over the bench. It looked like a homeless shelter. I swear to God, it was made with. I think they had they have like 2x4s, and they put a tarp over it, but it didn't do anything. Actually, the wind got in there too, and I think they put a couple of space heaters, but they were so hot that you couldn't even put if you tried to put your hands in there, you had to pull them right out again.
Yeah.
There was no way to adjust the temperature. So I didn't wear anything differently. I was very superstitious anyway, about my game
I'm like
uniform.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, my left shoe goes on first, my right one. I don't want to put anything underneath my garments that would be something that might hinder me.
Right.
So I played a game as if it was in September. And a lot of our guys did also. But the Dallas Cowboys, they were freaked out. So they were wearing, stuff like you put like on your knees, and they put them on their face and cut eye holes in and mouth holes in. They looked like spacemen or something like that. And they had
I'm sure
stuff
that really helped too.
It didn't help at all.
Yeah.
Of course. Matter of fact, the guys on the team tell me they could barely hear, Don Meredith calling the signals because he was trying to get his mouth moving through this hole in the, a stocking that was on his head. It looked like a bunch of guys robbing a bank or something. And really, anything you wore wasn't thermal. It
Right.
wasn't like, North Face or anything. It was
Yeah.
just another thing to make you heavier.
Dry fit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heavier, yeah.
Yeah, really.
Hard
so
to run and
yeah, and it was hard enough to to run, catch the football, and
But
so
after
forth.
you realized that you had won
Yeah.
and the game was over, did the feeling of being cold totally evaporate?
You know what? It took me a while to thaw out.
Well, we heard that, we read that a lot of your teammates on both, well, actually, in the Dallas Cowboys as well, they had frostbite on their fingers and feet and all
Toes.
kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. A couple of guys, I think,
Flu.
a couple of guys lost a couple of toes. I think. Yeah, I was very fortunate. I didn't have frostbite at all. I'm from Wisconsin, and I grew up in Milwaukee.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I actually had played outdoors and shoveled
You had a
snow.
little
And
edge on some of
yeah,
it.
I had a little up on it because I knew a little bit about cold weather. I don't think I'd ever played or been outside for a long time in weather that was 16 or 20 or below or 50 below with a chill factor. But I kind of sucked it up, and just said, this is what it is, and just, it didn't really affect me as much as it did some other players.
Okay, so if you're listening, I want to just make it really clear that the Green Bay Packers were losing. You guys are driving down the field, and you actually are the one who blocked the other guys for Bart Starr to run it in for a touchdown.
Well,
Is that how this happened?
Not exactly. I'm playing in the backfield with the other fullback
Yeah,
and a
you're a
halfback, quarterback's under the center. The play that they called would have been just a simple handoff to me, the fullback, going between the center and the guard. And what happened the previous play, however, was they tried to hand a handoff to the running back, to the other back, and Donnie Anderson, number 44, slipped and almost caused
On the ice.
Yeah, on the ice, so that the quarterback, Starr, handed him a ball at about 3 feet off the ground. It was Donnie's body was already almost parallel, so he had no power, and he also almost fumbled because that's not the way you take a handoff, obviously. So what I didn't realize, and the team didn't realize, is when we called our final timeout with 16 seconds to go, and we could have kicked a field goal, by the way, to tie the game, but they went on the sideline, Coach Lombardi and Bart said, "Look, we can run 30 wedge, but I'm going to keep the ball because I don't want to risk another handoff problem. The back might slip." And so he came back in the huddle, called the play, but didn't tell anybody that he was going to keep it. So when the play ensued and, on two, the snap happened, I took off thinking I was going to get the ball. But I didn't. All of a sudden, Bart kept it on a sneak. And so I go over the top of him, and I can't stop, and I put my hands up in the air. It looks like I'm signaling touchdown, but I'm really not. I'm trying to signal to the referee. I'm not assisting him into the end zone. That was a penalty at the time. You couldn't push somebody. Now you can pull guys into the end zone. It's not your own motion that takes you in. But at that time, it was a penalty.
Wow.
So I was just signaling to the referee. It's an iconic picture. It's in the Hall of Fame. It's all over the place.
No way.
Number 30 going over the top, Bart on the bottom of the, so I was thrilled. But everybody on the team thought I scored, actually. And, until later, until they actually.
It was Bart.
Yeah. Years later, we went back, I think it was our 50th anniversary of the game, believe it or not. We were all on the field together, and we kind of ran that play again, but this time Bart Starr gave me the ball. I said,
Stop
no.
it.
I
That's
said,
great.
too late. Sorry.
That is great.
But like I said, it would have been nice to have gotten the winning touchdown, but having gotten 34 of those 68 yards was a lot for me anyway. And certainly, showed my appreciation for Coach Lombardi bringing me there to begin with, which was what he did. He said, when he brought me in, he said, you're here to help us win another championship. So I was able to, live up to my end of the bargain.
Yeah. I'd say you did.
Yeah, that was
Do you
nice.
think in today's world of football, that they would play a game in that weather?
I do, yeah. I think they do, especially with
all the
with
technology,
the technology now and the better equipment and stuff like that.
I'd feel bad for the stands, people in the stands, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
players would be fine.
Yeah.
If you looked in the stands, all you could see is vapor from their mouths, and they're all wearing hunting gear because it's Green Bay, Wisconsin anyway.
Wow.
Deer season and all the rest.
Yeah.
So all those people are dressed very colorfully and, green and red and orange and stuff. But it was so cold that all you saw was the breath that they were breathing. So it was
fog
like
machine.
like a cloud over there. It was crazy. If you ever, when you watch the game, if you ever see the game and they show the fans in the stands, all you'll see is their breath.
Right.
Very
At that
ethereal.
time, that's when the coaches, they always wore suit and ties, too.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely, they did. Yeah, Tom Landry in particular, but Coach Lombardi too. Yeah.
He had to have had a wool coat on or something.
He had a big camel hair coat on. Coach Lombardi, who used to wear that and a hat.
That's how I picture him.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
Coat and a hat.
Me too.
We have a couple of last questions, and I want to know one's a serious question, one's a cool question. First one is, our generation, we are seeking for, wisdom. I think we need to look for more wisdom in our lives, like just from the older people that have lived and learned. If we put you in a stadium, in the Green Bay Packers stadium or the Giant stadium, since that's where you live, it'd be way more convenient. And fill it up with young people, from the ages of 20 to 40. What is one message that you'd like to share with my generation that you feel like could empower us, impact us, or something?
Well, I mean, perseverance to me, tenacity, having the will to get back up when you're knocked down. I think the millennials have an idea that somehow the world owes them something. The government maybe in terms of this entitlement, really. And there's kind of tendencies for young people to want socialism. The government to take care of everything. That's really not the way life is. And you have to really learn by experience and learn from mistakes. Mistakes actually can be helpful if you learn not to do them again and how to correct them. Like insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So that's not the way to go. So I would tell, and I've told all my kids too, life is not a bowl of cherries. You're going to have difficulties, but you're going to overcome them, learn from your mistakes. And the whole idea is just keep trucking, keep going, and put one foot in front of the other one. Thank God for each day and do the best you can with each day and, persevere.
It's awesome.
Just off of Haley's question, I have one. If you were to speak to all the players now that are in the NFL and seemingly money hungry and always chasing the biggest contract, do you think that takes away from their skill on the field because they make so much of a deal about, they want to be the highest paid quarterback or the highest paid running back?
Right. Yeah, I would probably try to see if I could instill more of a feeling of team in the game of football. They say there's no I in the word team. That's a cliche. But the truth of the matter is there's so much individualism now. So many individuals think of themselves before their team. They're always ready to move on to another team, have a better contract. It's all about the money and the fame. And I would try to, if I were a coach today, instill more of a feeling of, helping the other guy and playing for your team. And, instead of just for your own statistics, or your own bank account, right?
When
Oh, yeah.
I am going to guess that he probably wouldn't put up with many of the players.
Oh, never. Not in a million years.
Some of them, but
No. And he really, really didn't like showing off at all. Again, that took away from the concept of team. So, I mean, we had one player who was a rookie, and he was really fast. His name was Travis Williams, and he was a ball of fire. He could, he had, I think he still has a record for kickoff returns and punt returns for touchdowns in a single season. But in the beginning, he would be, very effusive when he got toward the end zone. And at one point, he spiked the ball before they even spiked the ball. And coach said, "Don't ever do that again." And he said, "And by the way, now you can carry that football until I tell you to put it down." And this was in training camp. It was an exhibition game. So Travis Williams had to carry the football when he went to his meals, when he was in the meetings. He was not allowed to put that football down for like a week. He had to sleep with it, and he never spiked the ball again. Believe me.
Well, I guess I could say Odell Beckham then should be carrying that net
my
around.
Carried the whole freaking field
No,
goal.
it's hard for me to
The
watch the game today.
goalpost.
It's hard for you
It's
to watch.
hard for me to watch the game today because of all what I call the show-off stuff.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, it takes 11 men to make a successful football play.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just the guy that caught the ball or the guy that threw it or the guy that ran it in. It's the people who block for him. On defense, it's, same way. That's what I love about the game of football. It's 11 guys working in coordination to have a successful
The spirit of humility. It's a powerful thing.
play. Yeah.
I guess our last question for you is, I happen to know that you play golf with a couple famous people, should we say? Maybe the president? And so I'd like to know, have you ever beaten Mr.
No, he's a better golfer than I am.
Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump we do play golf, and he's a really good golfer. His handicap isn't anywhere he's near where he says it is, but he's still better than
No.
Like I said, I'm not exactly, Arnold Palmer.
Is he competitive with it?
We have fun. We compete. We've been in tournaments together and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have a drink of choice when the cart comes around? Do you have a go-to?
I actually just like an Arnold Palmer, which is iced tea and lemonade. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Have you been to the Bay Hill Invitational?
I have been to Bay Hill, played there, but never been to the Invitational. No.
Okay. I was there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
It's
that's
incredible.
Yeah, I've been to the Masters. That's a great tournament.
I bet.
And we have the U.S. Open at my golf course
And your shirt is
this year, in 2020 at
amazing.
Wingfoot Golf Club. This is my
Wingfoot.
shirt.
Wingfoot. Yes.
Yeah, Wingfoot. So we've had the Open there. This will be our 5th time, and I've seen it 3 times. So it's
So you can just hang out at your house and watch it out your.
no, I actually helped. I helped.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I ran the practice range the last time I was there. So I'm not sure what I'll do this year, but I'll do something.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, one last question. Kyler Murray, did he make the right choice?
Well, by going to pro football, absolutely, because he's
think
going to
so?
be such a high pick.
Yeah.
He'll be the first pick or second or third pick anywhere in there. He'll get a lot of guaranteed money. So he had, $4.7 million or something as a bonus from the Diamondbacks, I think, in baseball.
Yes.
But his first contract with the NFL, he'll be probably worth $20 million, probably 5 times that. And I think his talent really is in football. So I think he made the right choice.
Family, so.
Yeah, he does.
He made the right choice. And also, if it didn't work out, he can always try
true.
baseball again.
Yeah.
Once you leave football, as you saw with Tebow, you're not going to get back.
You're not going back.
Yeah, not going
No.
back.
Okay, so last thing. Okay, we have our little starfish here.
yes.
Let's grab her. She's so cute. She travels with Sam and I and she's a part of our show.
Haley and I both grew up going to the Bahamas.
Yeah, and we love. Well, I'm from Florida. I'm a Floridian, and so John, our last guest,
Her name.
he gave her a name. Her name. He named her Bubbly, but she told us this week. She's like, guys, I just really don't like Bubbly.
Like Bubbly, so we wanted to know if you had a new name for her.
We'd love for you to just name her whatever you'd like to
Sparkly.
name.
Not Icy.
No,
Icy.
no. I don't know. It looks like it kind of sparkles a little bit, right?
Yeah, she's a
little
sparkly
bit.
little
yeah,
girl.
yeah.
Okay, well,
right.
Sparkly is adorable, and I love it. Sparkly, do you like your name? She's going to let us know next podcast. Sir, Coach, thank you for helping us and giving us incredible advice, sharing with us your life and what you've learned.
And that
It was my pleasure.
fancy little ring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guys.
No big deal.
Thank you. It was my pleasure talking to you, ladies.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Guys, again, thanks for listening to Jerseys and Heels. That will end our podcast for today, but be sure to tune in again and catch us behind the scenes.
Jerseys and Heels, bringing women into the game because they are more than jerseys and we are more than heels.
See you on the flip side. Don't forget to come meet us on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast.